Hello students, welcome back to class. Are you enjoying the history lesson? So this is not just an English lesson in this unit, but it's also a history lesson. But we are on lesson number 3, which is grammar focus. And so in this grammar focus, this exercise practices the use of in, for, from, to, since, during, and ago. And so these are time-associated words, teaching us how to use these words to talk about something that happened before, all right? And so in, for, from to usually are together, since, during, and ago, all right? So grammar focus, referring to time in the past. And so when we refer means to talk about. I'm going to refer to something that happened in our last lesson. It means I'm going to talk about and help us to remember just a little bit about something that happened. To refer, to talk about something, referring to a point of time in the past. So when you're talking about something that happened in the past, you ask the question, when did World War II take place? Or when did World War II happen? During, okay, because during the 1940s, okay, so you're not giving a specific date. You're not saying November 9th, 1953, but during the 10 years of the 1940s. So during the 1940s, or in the 1940s, or over 50 years ago. When did World War II take place? World War II took place during the 1940s, during the time of the 1940s, or we can say it took place in the 1940s, or we can say from today over 50 years ago, or when did it take place? More than 50 years ago, or over 50 years ago. So we use these words to talk about a point of something that happened in the past. Look to the right, referring to a period of time in the past. Okay, so this is from 1 year or from one day to another. How long was the Berlin Wall up? From 1961 to 1989. All right, so from this time to this time. How long have you lived in Cambodia? From April 1995 to February 2022. From to, so you're comparing the beginning of something to the current time or the end of something. And then we say for 28 years. Okay, the Berlin Wall was up from 1961 to 1989 for 28 years. How long have I lived in Cambodia? I've lived in Cambodia for about 28 years. Going on, referring to a period of time in the past that continues to the present. And so we say, how long has the United Nations been in existence? So the United Nations began in 1945, but we still have the United Nations. Here in 2022, we still have the United Nations. So we say, since 1945. Tang Pi, 1945. Since it began in the 1945 and it is continuing on is what we mean. So how long has the United Nations been in existence? Since 1945. Since World War II ended. Okay. How long have you lived in Cambodia? Since 1995. It means that's when I began living in Cambodia and I'm still living in Cambodia. Or you can say for about 55 years. Or for over 50 years, for more than 50 years, or for over 50 years. Okay, referring to time in the past. All right, look at the slide now. This is from the teacher's book to try to explain this a little more clearly. Number 1, to express a point of time in the past, use during, in, and ago. During means for an extended period of time, or at some point over a period of time. So it means many years. During the early 1990s, I was living in Italy. Many scientific discoveries were made during the 19th century. And so we use during over to talk about many years, but not specific years. I lived in Cambodia during the 1990s. To refer to a time or a period of time, use in. Okay? And so, for example, rock and roll became popular in the 1950s. Rock and roll is a style of music, the popular style of music. And so to refer to a point in time or a period of time in the 1950s. Okay? In the 1990s, Cambodia developed a lot. But in the 2000s, Cambodia developed even more. So in a specific period of time, rock and roll became popular in the 1950s. Ago means in the past. The Russian space program was started almost 50 years ago. Okay? I came to Cambodia 27 years ago. 27 years in the past, or 27 years before. Number two, to express a period of time in the past, use from, to. Okay, so a period of time that began at one time and ended at another time, we use from, to, and for. We want to tell how many. To refer to the beginning and the end of a time period, use from and to. World War I lasted from 1914 to 1918. I lived in the United States from 1953 to 1995. For is used in reference to a length of time. How many years? For 10 years, the Beatles sang together. The Beatles is the name of a rock and roll music band, and they sang together for 10 years. I worked together with my friend Kong Mara for 25 years. Number three, to express a period of time in the past that continues into the present, use since and for. Since refers to a point of time. It is often used with the present perfect, have or has, plus the past participle. Elton John has been popular since the early 1990s. Elton John is another popular rock and roll singer, and so Elton John has been popular since the early 1990s, from the early 1990s all the way up until today. For can be used in reference to a length of time in the past until now, the present time. So for, we learn that is the number for 20 years, for 27 years, but we can use it to be used as a reference in length of time, how many, in the past, from the past up until now. The UN, the United Nations, has been solving problems for many years. All right? And so, this is the lesson. We have one more part. We have the exercise part of this lesson, but I'm going to let you take a rest now and go on to the next video for the short lesson, which is the exercise lesson, applying what we've learned, all right? So, take a break. See you in the next lesson.